I have returned. And we are gonna make some obstacles somehow, some way. How's this gonna work? So I think maybe I'll start with a cube. And how do I want to do this? Maybe I'll attach a script to the button so that we can attach, like we can give this button a property, an export, where we can put a mesh in it. Think about how I want this to work, right? So, because we need potentially two things, right? We need one thing that is the visual that we're going to move around with the mouse as kind of a preview. I was going to say, and then the actual thing, but why can't those be the same thing, right? Because we're placing it in the world. The preview is going to be at the same scale as the actual mesh of the thing that we're going to put into the world. Maybe what I need to do is let's create a node, and this is going to be, I'm going to read that in a second. This is going to be like just a node 3D, and then there's going to be a mesh in it, mesh instance 3D. Do I need that, or do I want to just have the actual node be the mesh instance? Like, do I need anything else? Not sure. Let's do this for now. So we're gonna have, this is gonna be a obstacle, and then what I want to do is I want to in the mesh, we're gonna make a new box mesh. Where are we? And let's make this somewhat substantial. So we'll make this like 10 by 10 is too. Oh, that could be good. We'll do like that. We're sticking below, right, as well. So there's a little bit. There we go. Do something like that. And have this aligned like so. So it's an obstacle, right? I mean, it doesn't need to be that tall, does it? I'm gonna do like 5 by 2. Something like that, just as a test. I did say it was gonna be a box. I mean, it's a box. Okay. So then we're gonna take this. We're going to save branches scene. We're gonna make this our obstacle, and then we're gonna remove it from the world. Yep. And then we're going to attach a script. Yeah, we'll just call it spawn obstacle button, and we're gonna have a export our spawnable is a packed scene. We're not gonna have a position. Ooh. Yeah, something like that, but not really. Maybe create obstacle is what we want. If spawnable, pick the spawn position based on global mouse position. And then Yeah, we could do that. We'll make a function called create obstacle. And instantiate, set it to the position, and then add it to the current scene. And we're not going to do any of this stuff yet. We just want to put it into the world. When we call instantiate. Okay, so and then in our let's save that, and we'll open the there's obstacle avoidance. We can delete that. We don't need that. Where is the scene that we just created? Obstacle. There we go. We want to create a script on this as well because we want to have some behavior when it initially spawned in, and then we'll afterwards. So we'll create a script. And we'll call this, give it a class name of obstacle just because, and then we're going to set var placed is false. And then when the player moves the mouse, update the position of the obstacle if placed is false. Okay, global mouse position is not a function. Didn't we do that? I swear I'm going to rechat in a second. All right, so this can do this because this is a function provided by the canvas item, which buttons is a subclass of. So how would, because we can't rely on, I guess we could rely on this. Like we could do this logic here. It's not great. Ooh, yes. We should do that. And in fact, we shouldn't do any of this here. Okay, I'm on rechat now. Okay, Brainless was saying, I'm testing against Grok. ChatGPT was like, nope. Grok 3 Fast was like, nope. Grok 4 Expert is still running for like 5 minutes, and the log show shows it's even going to see the source code of. Oh right, it's like looking at the sort. Oh, it's trying to figure out the thing that we were looking at before, where you were doing like making a class that derives from the map object, where the iterable was 0. Okay, so from a longer response, it's saying is valid code. The call does not raise an exception during execution, results in binding the name foo to a new map object. This map object is configured to lazily apply the function foo, a string, to items zipped from the 2 iterables. And it took 7.5 minutes to do. Wow. Hey, Deflux, hello. Sorry it took me so long to get to your message. It is a Moonlander with the so from ZSA. I've had this. It's been like what, a year and a half now, and so then I have the add-on. I forget what it's called. Here, hold on. Let's. You know when I can't remember things, which is often. ZSA Moonlander keyboard. Here you go. So this is what it looks like when it's flat without the so one is that the thumb clusters, you can change the position so you can get a little bit of a curve going there, but it can be flat. It does come with a built-in like leg that you can extend, so you don't need this part. This is an add-on, so you can use this to tint it, as they call it. And see, okay, cool. You don't need to sell me. I'm selling it right now. Not sponsored. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, the platform, that's what it's called. Right, so this thing. I will say, maybe this is me being a little too rough with it, but I have seen like some cracks in the plastic here, but it's fine. I don't. There is like a metal screw that is the main thing that's holding this in position, but I think just like kind of this motion can kind of damage the plastic a little bit. Anyway, but yeah. Does it have a mouse-like feature in the keyboard? I have seen some. I don't know if it was for this keyboard, but I've seen someone talk about doing like a homebrew like trackball sort of thing in it. It, as far as I know, they don't have an accessory that does that. But that is a thing that would be kind of cool versus like moving my hand. 3D printed some extra legs for the thumb cluster for your tinting. Yeah, I mean, I've feel like this has been pretty solid, just as is. But yeah, there's nothing underneath this supporting it. It's just the screw here, and friction, right on that, holding that. Yes, that is something with like the LLMs actually running code to try things that I have seen with like I think like Claude Code will do that, and I have seen that with the coding agent, right? So you can actually with this feature. Why does it take 25 minutes to scan the project? But some of the things it will do will be like it'll like shell script, it will run commands, it will look at files. Yeah. Oh, I see. This is why it's taking so long. Is it's like it's trying to test. Um, it's trying to run Godot in headless mode. It's trying to do a bunch of stuff. Anyway. I have on my way split keyboard. Do not like their new one. I have the UHK switched out. What is the UHK? Is this from TSA? Or did I miss let's see. Ultimate hacking keyboard? Okay. There we go. So bright. No dark mode, huh? Okay. 60 versus 80. A bit flimsy, you say? Oh yeah, but it has the little like a little trackball there. It's nice. Yeah, the one thing the Moonlander doesn't have, it's not wireless. For good or for ill. So there's like one wire here to connect the two sides, and then there's a separate one, USB-C, that connects to the computer. So it's not wireless. That would be cool, just to have like just wireless things. But yeah, has the touchpad. Don't want wireless. Yeah. Okay, so game dev. Right. I had a thought, which is that what we should do is we should have a var, what are we gonna call this? We're gonna call this placeable instance is a node 3D, right? And so what we want to do is we want to say placeable instance is the obstacle instance that we created. And then what we want to do is we want to say def what is it? Process. So if we have a placeable instance, it's not def. This is me thinking Python. It's func and Godot, and we don't need delta, so I'll just put an underscore there. So if we have a placeable instance, then while the mouse is moving, we want to get the global mouse position, and we want to set the global position of the placeable instance to be where the mouse is. So like when we spawn in the thing, we can move the mouse around and it will show up in the world. Now, get global mouse position. What does this actually do? Returns the mouse's position in the canvas layer that this canvas item is in using the coordinate system of the canvas layer. For screen space coordinates, when using non-embedded pop-up, you can use display server mouse get position. Okay, so this is like, is this a vector 2? What is the type of, yeah, it is a vector 2. So one thing here that we should be doing, yeah, that reveals the problem, is if we use colon equals, then mouse pos gets the type of this thing, right? So what we need to do is we need to project where the mouse is relative to the ground. So we need some kind of function get position projection from mouse. And of course it keeps, you know, hallucinating a thing that doesn't work, but that's fine. And then we don't want this. We don't want this. And how's this gonna work? I don't know. Return. Interesting. Get viewport, get camera, project ray origin from the mouse position in the viewport. Anyone believe this will work? I don't know, let's see. It doesn't even all right, hold on. Okay. So get viewport returns the viewport. Get camera doesn't exist. That's yeah. Let's do this. We're gonna print. We're gonna return vector 3.0. And then we're gonna figure out by Googling Godot project mouse position in 3D scene. How to get 3D position of the mouse cursor? Yeah. This is a very good graphic of what I'm trying to do. Yeah, raycasting. Yes. OpenGL ray. Okay. So this is from 2022. Yeah, mouse position, viewport, object. Okay, so I think there we go. Looking for a Godot docs link. Yep. Viewport display coordinates. Godot uses viewports to display content, and viewports can be scaled by several options. Okay, so we can use underscore input and look for mouse motion events to be able to do this instead of using process. Process was not the right callback. Okay, well, let's start by doing this so we can actually get some events and see things happening. So what we want to do is we actually want to do like func input. Yep. So we do this and we say if it's a mouse motion input event, and we do have a placeable instance. So we've actually essentially this is, has the button been clicked and we have not resolved placing the thing, then when the mouse moves, we want to update its location. So I think what I'm going to do for now is we're going to use pass, and we're going to comment out all of this. We don't actually want to spawn anything, and we don't actually want to do any of this. And instead what we want to do is we want to print we basically want to just do this. There we go. Okay, so what this will let us do is that we'll be able to borrow this for a second. Actually, we would need to set placeable instance. Okay, so that will set placeable instance to be in, instantiated spawnable thing, and we'll go from there. So going back to Godot, running this, we can see we can click the button, and then I was expecting that when I move the mouse, we would see things in the console, but that doesn't seem to have happened, which is unfortunate. What's up with that? Is that because oh, is this because this only will happen when the mouse is over the button? Is it because this doesn't have a I'm surprised. Called when there's an input event. The input event propagates up the node tree until a node consumes it. It's only called if input processing is enabled, which is done automatically if this method is overridden and can be toggled with set process input. Okay. So I think two things. One is I suspect that this is not going to work inside of the button, for one. And two, wait, didn't I? Yes. Thinking about this. Thinking about how I want to do this. I think I know. Okay, so here's the problem. I think. Well, there's one or two problems. One is I've already hooked up the signal to call this function when the button is pressed, right? Because I think the idea will be that we will want to centralize. And the reason for that is that, well, we're already in a point where I think this input probably needs to be in a central location. Like this probably needs to be in main. Like if we do this, make it replaceable. So we can just see. So we can see mouse motion, right? Now we see it all the time. We don't want to trigger that all the time, but that's fine. We'll come back to that. So we're not getting those input events on the button, for one, and two, I don't know. It is kind of weird to have like this logic about placing things live inside of the button. I do like the idea of like putting the thing. Oh, we didn't even set the spawnable thing in here anyway. But being able to put the obstacle on the button and just like being able to do that is kind of neat. And we could expand upon this and have like a reusable like place for that logic. It's kind of nice. But it seems like the input handling needs to be outside of the button, which means the keeping track. That's the other thing, right? Is that if each button is keeping track of, oh, there's a placeable thing, what happens if you click multiple buttons? I think what would be nice would be if we provide a signal to spawn an obstacle, and we do something like this. Now, this button doesn't need to keep track of that it's done anything. And I think another thing we want to do is we want to say bar enabled. Actually, I think probably buttons have, yeah, they have disabled anyway, so we can already control that, so we don't need to implement that again. So when the button is pressed, we simply want to fire the signal, right? We want to say obstacle spawn request emit spawnable.instantiate, and that's it, right? The button script doesn't need to do anything else. Also, let's make that a little bit bigger. I realized I probably decreased the text size at some point in the past, and it'll be a little easier to see on stream. Speaking of which, if anyone, like, if I'm doing something, or there's a UI setting or something, or like there's anything at all, like audio issues, resolution, anything at all, any kind of stream problems, feel free to let me know, and I'll see what I can do about improving the situation. Okay, so we have this. So what we want to do, you're streaming 1080p loud and declared. Nice, very good, very good. And the code is super readable. Great, excellent. So we're going to disconnect this signal, and we have this new signal, and we're going to connect this signal to I guess I could call it on spawn button, on spawn obstacle button, obstacle spawn requested. We're just going to call it on obstacle spawn requested. So the idea will be that we will have, okay, maybe that text size is a little large. How about there? So we're gonna get rid of this. Get rid of that. So we're going to start there, and we are going to, and I can just declare placeable obstacle. If placeable obstacle is none. No. I guess we can just do if not. There you go. Else. We'll come back to rebaking the navigation mesh at some point. All right. So, what this should allow us to do is we can play. We currently have. Oh, right. Let's do one last thing, which is only show. To finish my thought before that I kind of only half verbalized, I can set this variable within the scope of the whole script. But I can set it. Typically, I set them, at the top. And I feel like maybe doing this is already like a code smell of like, well, what I should do is I should have a separate, some kind of management object for this sort of thing that handles this. Some kind of like spawning manager or something, or just like a generic game manager like we've done with other things that's auto-loaded. And like part of auto-load is that it hooks up that event and it just like isolates the management of this into a single place. But this is fine for now, and we are able to do it. So basically what I did was I made it so that, yeah, this placeable obstacle has to be set. And now this is a global thing, not just specific to one spawn button. So if we have multiple spawn buttons, each one can separately spawn in a thing, but they probably, like, one should overwrite the other. And in fact, this print is nonsense. Already selected. So I think that we don't need to care about this, that we're always going to overwrite placeable obstacle with the thing selected, right? So whatever button is selected, that will replace whatever was previously the thing that was essentially queued up to be placed into the world. So we're going to see in unhandled event was a tip that the underscore event function told us. So called when an input event hasn't been consumed by underscore input or any GUI control item. It's called after shortcut input and after unhandled key input. The input event propagates up through the node tree until a node consumes it. It is only called if unhandled input processing is enabled. To consume the input event and stop it propagating further to other nodes, viewport.set input as handled can be called. For gameplay input, which I guess this technically is, this method is usually a better fit than input, as GUI events need higher priority. For keyboard shortcuts, consider using shortcut input instead, as it's called before this method. Finally, to handle keyboard events, consider using unhandled key input for performance reasons. This method is only called if node is present in the scene tree. Of course, this is the main node. So let's see what this does. And so we should stop seeing the console, the print about the mouse moving. But if I click obstacle, then we should see it, but we don't. And what's up with that? What's in the debugger? Okay, that's old stuff. Okay, so why don't we see the thing about the mouse moving? Maybe it's not mouse movement is not unhandled input, is maybe the thing. So let's try this and click obstacle. And clicking obstacle doesn't do anything. Okay, stop. It should, right? node. Okay, so this is connected. This signal is connected to on obstacle spawn requested, which is this right here, which prints. Okay, and that signal is emitted by on pressed. Oh, right, but we didn't inside of the button connect pressed internally to the function that we already had. So that was the missing piece. So this was not getting called. All right, so now if I run this, so we have mouse motion, we are capturing that, and so we're essentially getting viewport coordinates. So this is like 0, 0 up here, and this is our predefined screen coordinate there. So that looks good. Done with that script. I don't think we need obstacle either. I wanted to switch this back to unhandled input and see if that works. Right, so if I click this, yeah, that doesn't work. It's not a input. It's not an input that's unhandled. Is the thing. So, okay. Now what? Well, we want to project this position as if it was coming from the camera, which is our viewpoint, to a location in the world that intersects with, if we go back to 3D, our ground. Yes. In fact, I think maybe a thing we want to consider doing is creating a group. Terrain, or maybe just ground. That might be handy, right? To be able to find the mesh that represents the ground, so that we can essentially, we want to raycast, like that one article Googling turned up. We want to raycast from the position that the camera's in, right? So essentially, the one of the rectangles that makes up this camera here is our viewport, and we want to project from that in 3D space to where it intersects the ground. Now, if we go back to here, there might have been some discussion about that. Nope. Let's see what's in here. Vector math. It's a little too low level. What about raycasting or camera? Tell me about the camera. Camera. So there might be something there. Something that I've kind of ignored that I think we need to do at some point is there are nodes for world environment. Default environment properties for the entire scene, post-processing effects, lighting, and background settings. Which I have just like fully ignored. But yeah, we can set like background, ambient light, and all these things, camera attributes, compositor stuff. I should figure that out at some point. Anyway, it's just something that occurred to me as I was looking at this. Okay, so let's go back to here because there was a link to the actual like API level docs. Camera 3D, a special node that displays what is visible from the current location. So the reason I'm looking at the camera is the camera has like the information about what is effectively the viewport is in the 3D world and the direction it's looking at and kind of all of these qualities. So I'm hoping there's something here, like some method. Get camera projection might be interesting. Or project ray normal or origin, maybe. Project position. Project local ray normal, probably not. Project position, what does this do? Returns the 3D point in world space that maps to the given 2D coordinate in the viewport rectangle on the plane that is the given z depth distance into the scene away from the camera. Right, so if you are thinking about a point on the surface of like the camera, like the lens sort of, and you were to go z depth out in the kind of projection of the camera, right? So like in our scene, the camera is orthographic, so things stay the same size regardless of how far they are away from the camera, versus like in real life, a camera, you have perspective, so things shrink as they get further away. Let's see. Project ray origin returns a 3D position in world space that is a result of projecting a point on the viewport rectangle by the inverse camera projection. This is useful for casting rays in the form of origin normal for object intersection or picking. So this looks promising, right? So project ray origin. So let's see what this looks like. Right, so if we, how do we get the camera? Right, so we just say, we already have the camera. Convenient. So we say camera dot project ray origin event position. And then Copilot is suggesting calling camera dot project ray normal. And then ray origin is camera global position. That's weird. Bar ray origin. Let's make sure that we capture the types of these things. Space state. Get 3D world that direct space state. I don't know what that is. I'm just gonna, we're gonna see what this does. Okay, too many arguments for intersect ray. So physics direct space state 3D is a type. Let's this. So what is this type of this? Okay, it is a physics direct space state 3D. I don't exactly know what that is. Direct access to the world's physics 3D states, space state. Used for querying current and potential collisions. So I don't think we necessarily want that. When using multi-threaded physics, access is limited to node.physics process, right? So not an input anyway. Let us bar ground objects bar ground okay. Let me read this again. Returns a 3D position in world space that is a result of projecting a point on the viewport rectangle by the inverse camera projection. Let's just print some stuff. Just ignore all that for a moment. Figure out what this is telling me, right? So if we do this, then when I look out in the middle distance, so we have a coordinate that represents kind of the middle of the screen. We have a ray origin, and we have a ray direction. Just trying to get a sense of what the numbers mean. So the ray direction never changes because we have an orthographic projection. So that makes sense, right? That no matter what point you start at on the camera, looking out into the world, the direction is always the same. I think we did introduce camera rotation. So this would be the way of changing the direction. So right now, negative is 0, negative 0.7, positive 0.7, versus 0.7, negative 0.7, 0. Right, so that's all consistent. But no matter where I like zoom out, zoom in, you can get a close look at what's going on here, this nonsense. Eventually, it will destroy the object. Anyway. I have somehow unintentionally made a reference to a certain movie. Although I guess in said movie they did not. The primates were not trying to destroy the monolith. So there you go. Anyway, all right. So enough of this nonsense. So we have a position and we have a direction. And what we want to know is if we go in said direction from said position, at what point do we intersect the ground? So I think there's a way for us to do that, which is that we can just provide a ray object on main, Raycast 3D. Oh, that's more for collisions, isn't it? Do we want to do it this way? I guess the other thing is that instead of trying to like say, oh, these nodes are the grounds and try to intersect with them, we could just use collision detection, right? We have collision layers, so we can have a designated collision layer that represents the ground, and we can then try to do collision from a ray from the camera to the ground. I guess the thing is that well, let's take a look. So Raycast 3D. There it is. Array in 3D space used to find the first object it intersects. Raycast represents a ray from its origin to its target position that finds the closest object along its path if it intersects any. Raycast can ignore some objects by adding them to an exception list. Calculates intersection every physics frame, and it holds the results until the next physics frame. For immediate raycast, or if you want to configure raycast multiple times within the same, use force raycast update. To sweep over a region of 3D space, you can approximate the region with multiple, or use shapecast. Okay. Oh. Huh. Okay. I think I see a path forward here. So let's grab the raycast. Okay. And then what we want to do is initially this raycast node will not be enabled. And I think what we will do is we will target collision mask 5. And then the grounds will be on collision layers. Oh wait, the ground doesn't have collision. Right, it's just the mesh, it doesn't have collision. So... But yeah, I don't think we need this. Don't need ground anymore. Okay. So then what we need to do is we need to add a collision shape 3D. No, a collision object. Another provides a shape 3D to a collision object 3D parent. Sure. But I can't select that here. Why not? Oh, right. I would need to use, like, this is an abstract base class. Is it a static body? Right, the terrain is a static body. And it's not animatable. Yeah. Okay, so static body 3D is what we want. And just for the sake of like being able to find things, I'll just put it inside of the mesh. And then this is complaining because it needs a collision shape. So what I imagine we will eventually do is we'll do something where we have like a terrain scene that this stuff lives inside, probably with the navigation. Like this whole thing will be there, but that's a future us problem. So we want a box shape. Now what's this complaining about? Collision shape 3D only serves to provide a collision shape to a collision object 3D derived node. Oh, 2D. Delete. And shall node. Static. It helps if I pay attention to what I'm doing. Region. Alright, and then box shape. And there, no more complaints. Now, this box shape needs to be the size of this. Well, this 500 by 500, and then we'll have to like align it and such. 500 by 500. Oh, did that just work? I don't know, hard to tell. So the ground it'll be good. Just like a side-on perspective. All right, so where? Oh, I see. So the collision shape needs to be moved down to there. Right, because this is where is the mesh? What a mesh. All right. Sometimes it's very difficult to tell what's going on here. I don't know. It's good enough for a start. Okay, so the idea will be that we have this raycast. It is not enabled, but very, very quickly, what we can do is we can say, so we have the ray origin and direction. We don't need to find the ground because we're gonna use the raycast to do that. What we're gonna do instead is we're gonna say raycast cast to direction very far. Raycast dot position is ray origin. Force raycast update. I don't know. It's fine. It'll do it on the next physics frame, and then I guess we have another callback here for func physics process pass, and we're not going to do all of this, but what we are going to do is we are going to actually, this is pretty cool. I actually want this code as is. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a break because Switch has to run ads. So I'm going to pause here, and when we return, we're going to see what this does. So